feel is that we can't handle one another's truth. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, why you don't really kiss me? Why you don't really just like to kiss me? Because your breast stink. You know what I'm saying? Somebody really say that, be like, I can't, I can't believe you said that.
Oh Lord have mercy.
But I'm just saying, that's an extreme example, but I'm just saying, though, just the truth. I'm just clowning. But it's like, if we could just handle that truth, though, okay, here's the truth, and then be able to deal with that rather than the emotion of you had the nerve to tell me the truth about something. I think that makes relationship work better if we just handle that. I think a lot better. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, you're right. That holding that information in, you need to communicate that with the other individuals. Because maybe it was something about them that they never knew, and if they trust you, and believe in what you say, then maybe they'll take consideration or take heed to what you say, and then maybe try to change that for their better good as well as your better good.
Mm-hmm.
So
you're right.
You're right.
Yeah, I mean, it just has to be, like I said, it just has to be effort. I think anything takes effort. Even when the marriage gets bad and ugly, it takes effort to get it to that particular point, right? Where no one says, I'm going to listen to what you have to say. Your opinion is no longer valid. And I don't know, how long do you stay with bad? How long do you stay with ugly? Is there a time limit? I mean, because I know, I'm sure, we've all been in bad and ugly situations, right? And people tell us, oh, you ought to leave, you ought to get out. But it's like, what makes it hard? If it's ugly and it's bad, what makes it hard to just walk away?
Well, again, I think it's perspective on
Yes, ma'am.
something, So, I mean, what might be bad to me may not be bad for the other person,
Mm-hmm.
I think that, from what I've seen now, like kind of in our generation, I think that anything that a man or a woman may do in a relationship is divorce. Like, I'm just going to walk away from the situation. But again, it's what you feel like is tolerable enough for you. For me, ultimately, obviously, for most people, it's obviously cheating. That just can't happen, But, again, it's all about what I feel like as an individual, what that person is, willing to put up with, If it's abuse and things like that going on, I would encourage anybody to leave a situation. But, again, it's all about perspective and what you feel like that is enough for you,
Mm-hmm.
Like they used to say, it's gonna be until you're tired,
Exactly.
That's when you'll wake up and you'll realize, what, I can't take this anymore, because you can have a situation occur and reoccur, and people try to talk to you and tell you, hey, you need to leave and you need to step out and do this, and at the end of the day, majority of the people that you console with, they go back to that individual for whatever reasoning. And that's when you learn at the end of the day, that you cannot really force a person or make a person do anything, because if they're going to go back to that individual, they're going to go because they are willing to go. So when they get fed up, then that's when they're going to leave. So,
right.
Like the country get tired.
Yeah.
That's right.
You can tell a person all day, but, like you say, until that person is, they fed up, ain't, like my auntie used to tell me all the time, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Yep.
That's right.
You're right.
So,
you're right. What I found too, though, sometimes is that as friends, I guess as associates of people that's going through ugly situations, sometimes we'll let that emotion of that, carry on into our relationship. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, they don't make no sense. They ought to do this. They ought to do that. And then if somebody say, well, you know what? Just take care of your business. Mind your business. You can't tell me what to do. And then it becomes an argument. because you'll find yourself being passionate about someone not making a move that you think they ought to make. But as you said earlier, though, it's all about perspective, because when they tired, they'll know. They'll know. I mean, it definitely, we can go, our level of tolerance for that situation is definitely going to be like no nonsense. We don't feel about them. Like my dad always say, we don't feel about them the way that person does. So it's easy for us to say, all those kind of things about a situation. But if we just pay attention, we got some dirt in the corners that we need to clean up on our floor. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of times we got to look in the mirror of ourselves and figure out, okay, what's the problem?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's the hardest thing, though. That is the hardest thing for us to do, man, as men, women, people in general, to look in the mirror and say, I have to fix me. because
Right.
it's too easy to blame anybody else because it's too easy, and we see a lot of that. I mean, your old preacher told me a long time ago, you point one finger, you got three back at you, right? You know, it's easy for us to say, yeah, what's your fault? Well, the reason why I was hollering because you was yelling, the reason why I did that because of this, or the reason why, man, have you ever heard this excuse? The reason why I cheated because I was mad at you. You ever heard that one? You ever heard that one? that was a lame one. Man, this one lady one time told me, she walked in the house, she said, if I smell like cologne, that's because I was standing too close to somebody behind the payphone and the smell of their cologne was on me. And I looked, I said, you can't do no better than that.
Yeah.
I know, right? I'm like, for real. Now, I don't know if she thought that excuse was that good or I thought I was just that slow. So I don't know if I should have been insulted at the time. I feel like, they do be making that cologne strong nowadays. I don't know. Maybe she saw something in me. I can get away with this one. I can tell her this one.
You know what? And that's another thing. Some people. Some people. I mean, like Chessley said earlier. I mean, they're gonna let you. What is it I'm trying to say? Basically, a person can take advantage of you, and there are people who actually get married and take full advantage of their spouse because they know that they can get away with anything. For example, something as simple as cheating. If somebody can get married knowing that they are not ready to settle down, but because their wife is a doormat, and I'm just throwing something out there as an example, and they'll just go out there and they'll have their side piece, but they'll have their main wife knowing that she's not gonna, she's not quick enough or she's too slow to recognize, these clues here and there.
All them bones.
So they keep out there. So I think a lot of it also has to do with what you allow him to do or what she allows you to do, like Chessley said earlier, and a lot of the bad things that go on, if you continue to go over and over and over with that same problem with that individual and you don't do anything to try to progress that issue, then you're going to remain stagnant. You have to do something to make that situation better, if not leave.
Yeah, it takes effort. I mean, it takes effort to stay. It takes effort to leave, right? I mean, you go to work, you seeing people happy, and you come home and just horror.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
But the one I can only say this for myself. When you had made the comment about looking in the mirror, sometimes for myself, and I always would say to myself, without change, there's no growth. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that from my first marriage to now, I can say that sometimes I have to say to myself, hey, Chessley, was you really wrong for that? Or if you said that, were you wrong for it? And I try to not go to bed angry. And if I know I said something to my spouse, and again, this is growth, if I feel like that I said something to my spouse that may not be right, or I felt like I know was actually wrong when I came out of my mouth, I would at least say, hey, I'm sorry. That's the one thing I try not to be is so arrogant or, with him, or, try to be so bullheaded till I can't say I'm sorry.
My wife called me rigid. She said rigid.
Yeah. Yeah. So, a lot of the times, I have to catch myself and I have to say, well, yeah, maybe you was wrong for that. And, I might text and call him and say, I'm sorry, And that's the thing I think sometimes, too, is, like, people just don't want to apologize. It's like, even though you know you were wrong, just apologize. But,
that is a hard conversation to have. That is such a hard conversation to have with someone just won't even admit that they did anything remotely wrong. It's just the hardest conversation to have sometimes because I think the accountability isn't there.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. And, again, like for myself, sometimes I have to say, well, hey, you was wrong. So I do have to take accountability for some of the things that I said, and, hopefully we can talk about it. And for me, myself, honestly, I do have a time sometimes, like, if I don't like to argue. Me myself. I just get to the point where I'm like, I don't want to argue with you. So I do have times where I just shut down. I'm like, I'm just not gonna say nothing at all. But I come to realize that does not help the situation, because if we don't have the conversation and we don't just go ahead and get through what it is that's bothering each other, then you're gonna never be mad.
Okay, can you say that again for all those that do the shutdown thing? All those that just get quiet and you saying, what's wrong? Nothing. What's wrong? Nothing. What's wrong? Nothing. Please say that again. Please, I just want to make sure that it's quiet. Quiet on the set. I want to turn all the fans off, all the lights off. I want it that quiet. Say that again.
Yes. So like I say, I can honestly admit that I tend to do that, to where, like I say, again, it's just over time. I don't want to argue. Like I would let you be right just for the sake of argument. Even I know, and dang on well, you wrong. For the sake of argument, I would just shut it down right there. Let's just leave it alone, because I don't want to escalate a situation, and again, I just get to the point I don't like to argue. I don't like confrontation. So, and again, this is growth, but I just would rather not even say anything. But what I'm finding too is if we don't resolve the issue, we both gonna stay mad. It's gonna be tension in the house if we don't talk about it. And I hate that tension. So again, I have to put my pride aside sometimes and say, hey, you know what, I was wrong and I'm sorry. But
you have to be the bigger person.
Exactly. And I believe that sometimes I think that's what ends up getting people in a situation where they run, because you have unresolved issues with each other that y'all are too stubborn to sit down and talk about and work it out, instead of you just let it linger. You just let it build up. Yep. To the one point where when the confrontation happens, it's a bad confrontation. And Jim Bro or Susie Q, they packing up their bags. They through,
Yeah.
So
Kelly wrote a song about it. When a woman's fed up, there's nothing.
I'm telling you.
That's right.
I think it goes both ways sometimes. If you have some good dudes out there that's willing to put up with a lot of stuff, just as well as women as well as to put up with a lot of stuff, and they get tired.
Yep.
So,
that's right.
Again, it's perspective, because I don't feel like, being that I have been around a lot of men, and, again, my brother and my sons, and just, different men, it's not always the woman. Sometimes it's the man leading. It might be stuff that she does that he just is intolerable to. And I think that's going to what Nesha was saying, you need to get your issues resolved before you get into a marriage, because what happens before the marriage is going to come into the marriage.
Exactly.
So if it's not resolved prior to that, then you basically just, you just walking into a worse situation. Only thing is, now y'all married, and you got all this legal stuff you can have to go through.
Yeah.
Just walk away in the beginning.
Yep. That sounds simple enough, doesn't it?
Yeah. It sounds simple, but the road.
Baby.
Sounds real easy, because we have people that's broken, right? That come from broken past and broken situations and relationships. We just happen to hear their side of the story about the relationship. They could be batshit crazy, but they saying, well, here was him. He didn't show me no love and attention, or he could be crazy, it was her and she was just this or she was that. So we just only see that side of it until they actually show. And then now they've shown this particular side. Now we in love. Now we like them. Now we like them a whole lot. Now what you gonna do? Because again, this done shown crazy. Well, do we make excuses? Well, no, it ain't that. Well, maybe they had a long day. You know what I'm saying? It's like, sometimes we deny what we see. I say this all the time. You can't call a chicken a duck because they both got feathers. Some things just are what they are. And we have to realize that. And sometimes some of the people that's close to us may not have our best interest. And when we find that out, guess what? We owe it to ourselves and the people around us, to say, you know what? Hey, I agree to disagree. Let's move around, because I think sometimes especially when we bring kids in those kind of situations, we show them how to fake it until we make it.
Yeah, and that's not good.
That's just not good at all. Not good, in my opinion. Now, listeners, if you guys believe that's good in a particular way, please chime in, comment, all that good stuff. These will be on all the social media pages and all that for you guys to definitely put your comments on there, because that's what it's about, listener reaction and trying to really just help someone go through a situation, Miss Hope. Maybe something we can say is similar to them. I said I was only going to have you guys about